daily dialogue. Let me give you another statistic that really jumps out at me. Over the last 15 years, our suicide rate has increased 233% among African-American children aged 10 to 14.
Whoa, wait a minute. You're saying that African-American kids 10 to 14 are killing themselves more now?
Yes, sir. It has increased.
Wow.
233%.
Why? I mean, and that's one of the things. I mean, there were, you know, you could sit around and joke about the fact that there are certain things that black folk will do, but one of them is not kill themselves.
Well, that has changed.
Wow.
And there is not much difference now between homicide and suicide. You know, it's just the lack of value of life that an individual has, okay? I mean, you know, when these kids have shootouts with police, can you imagine that?
No,
that's almost like suicide, because you are not going to win.
No, there's no way.
There's no way. So that's basically almost like suicide.
It is,
okay?
when you think of it.
So we have a lot, so much that we have to deal with. Now we have basic things that our family structure has to deal with. Paying utility bills. You know, that's a major, major thing, and
yes.
A lot of people get depressed every month. You know, you have utility bills, you have doctor bills, you have outstanding women out there that take care of their families every day who are ill and feel that they're all alone. And, you know, they have issues like that they need to get out so they can feel better, because a lot of times your mental issues and emotional issues turn into physical problems.
Yes.
So we have a lot we have to do. There's a lot on the table, and I want to make our community healthy again. And the way we're going to do that, it has to start with mental and emotional health. You know, our families have dipped below, the two-parent family has dipped below 50%. I think it's down in the low 40s at this point.
So nobody has a two-parent home anymore. Only half of us do.
Yeah, less than half of us.
Less than half, yeah.
And you know, that's not a criticism, but we have to rally behind the single parents, the single mothers, the single fathers, and provide an infrastructure for their children.
Now, for you it can't be a criticism, but for me it is a criticism, and,
okay.
and it should be a criticism, because regardless of how the family came to be, as you know, you still have a responsibility, a parental responsibility, and that means, in other words, if you're not living together, that doesn't mean that you're not still the parent. So you still should have a two-parent something working there and working consistently, as opposed to so many. One person just can't hardly do this thing.
Well, and that's true, James. But you have to understand. And, you know, you and I can have this dialogue further, but you have to understand that the relationship and the understanding of the relationship between a man and a woman has changed since, you know, my wife and I have been together since we were 19 and 18.
Oh, wow.
Okay?
Yeah.
And, you know, of course, we've thought about divorce, but we've always put our children and our family ahead
right.
of what our issues were. And I don't mind telling people, you know, when I'm in public all the time, I'll tell people in a minute that I have been to marriage counseling.
Right.
You know?
And shouldn't you? I mean, it's one of the most important institutions around, and it's something that needs to be worked at.
Right. And, you know, I had issues, she had issues. We had to understand, you know, what these issues were all about. You know, I'm the kind of person that, you know, when my father raised me, you know, he told me that, you know, you got to work for your family, you got to provide money, da-da-da-da. But he forgot to tell me that, man, every once in a while, you know, you got to come home, you got to take your wife to dinner, you got to play with the kids. You just can't throw money at them, you know. For Christmas, they give you a list and you say, okay, I'll give this to you. You know, you got to give yourself.
Yeah.
And, you know, and that's what he forgot to tell me. And the people that we sit and talk with, you know, and it ended up in a laugh, just like you and I are doing. You know, I'm saying, wow, you know,
yeah.
I should have thought about this. So, you know, everybody, you know, there's nothing wrong with receiving counseling and therapy, because it helps you move beyond where you get stuck. And we all get stuck.
Absolutely. I don't know any phase of life where you couldn't use counseling, where it should not be considered a plus as opposed to a stigma.
Mm-hmm.
Gary, before we go, we're going to have to take a break here. Describe your district for us, and who do you work for?
Well, my district starts on the west on 3rd Street, and using Winchester as the main thoroughfare, I go all the way out to right at Germantown Road to the east. To the north, I go over to Knight Arnold. And to the south, there are a couple of streets back there. I don't have too much to the south of Winchester.
Okay.
I do have a private-owned company that I work for where I do consulting work for businesses.
Right. Yeah, and you've been a business person for as long as I've known you.
Right.
And so your heart really is into working with and for people, obviously.
Well, and that's why I keep working, because it's the kind of work that I love. Economic development, I thought, was the number one issue for the African American community. But at this point, if we had, 50,000 or 100,000 new jobs, I can almost tell you without any reservation that, this community could not hold on to them.
Something I have to comment on. You're one of those individuals who went to Nashville in a position with an agenda to a certain extent. You have been groomed for years, working with entrepreneurship, with economic development, with the communities, with the Black United Fund, and so forth and so on. So when you went to Nashville, it wasn't just to be a state representative. It was a state representative with something to offer in particular, and you carried that with you. You carried a lot of positives with you when you went there.
Well, and I thank you, because I consider that a compliment. I was very fortunate to have people to come to me when that position opened up and actually meet with me for about close to a week to convince me to do it. And now that I started, I guess I have to go to my therapist and say, why is it that I want to do this for people? What is this in me? Is this a natural thing, that I want to do? But, one of the basic things that we all should share is concern for our community and our neighbors. And like I said, I've always been a very wealthy person. And when I say wealthy, it has nothing to do with money. But I've had the kind of life where I've had support,
right,
from family and education. And everything that's surrounded me has always been very positive. And, that's one of the things that led me to the Black United Fund, which is still a very quiet organization. But we have put millions of dollars of grants into the African American community. And I'm heavily criticized because, why do you raise money and just give it to black folk? And, and it's kind of hard for me to understand the question, but I have to answer that all the time, because we're the ones that need certain kind of things that a lot of groups will not pay attention to.
Absolutely, Gary. I wish we had more time. And again, just as I said with Ms. Turner, we look forward to having you as a guest on the think tank again here in the future. We're going to have to take a break now. I don't have any choice in the matter, but I really want to thank you for your call. And there's so much more we could learn, but I want to thank you for what you've shared with my audience this morning.
Well, James, God bless you, my friend, and God bless our community. And, we're going to make this thing work.
Fantastic. Thank you again, Gary. Thanks.
Have a good day, Gary.
You too. All right. Gary Rowe, State Representative, and we have just zoomed past the commercial break practically, so I've got to get out of here. We'll be right back very shortly with our second hour guest. You're listening to the James Davis Think Tank here at AM 1380 WLRN.